The man fishes a pistol out of a pot of boiling oil and instantly shoots the hitman in the head. Despite his right hand already scorched, inside and out, he didn't feel a trace of pain because he was the so-called pain-free Deadpool, the chosen one. Because he suffers from congenital analgesia, Nate has to wear a mouthguard every night to prevent himself from biting his tongue off in his sleep. For 30 years, his daily meals consisted only of vegetable juice that required no chewing. To avoid accidental injuries, Nate has set up various protective mechanisms at home. This unique lifestyle has made his world increasingly isolated. Besides working at a bank during the day, Nate's only hobby is curling up at home and playing video games. Although he is over 30, he has never been in a relationship and remains an innocent soul. It was not until the appearance of the temp worker Sherry that the first ripple of excitement occurred in Nate's closed heart. On this day, just as he was thinking about how to take the first step toward his goddess, Sherry quietly appeared behind him.
Hey, Nate.
Hey.
In his panic, Nate actually poured hot coffee directly onto his hand, and the back of his hand was instantly scalded red. Sherry apologized repeatedly seeing this and said she could help clean his shirt. Although he felt no pain, Sherry's enthusiasm made Nate's heart race, leaving him unsure of what to do. He had to make up a random excuse and fled the scene in a panic. Just as Nate was regretting missing his chance, Sherry actually found him again. It turned out that to make up for her earlier mistake, Sherry wanted to treat him to lunch. This time, Nate finally did not waste this great opportunity and went with Sherry to her favorite restaurant. But when he saw the menu, he was instantly stumped and hesitated for a long time before only ordering a milkshake for himself. Sherry thought Nate did not find any food he liked, so she took the initiative to share her favorite strawberry pie with him. But unexpectedly, what she received was Nate's strong rejection.
I'm sorry. I just can't have any pie.
What do you mean you can't?
Sherry looked shocked. Seeing this, Nate had no choice but to reveal his secret of having congenital insensitivity to pain. Upon learning that he only eats liquid food to avoid biting his tongue, the considerate Sherry immediately fed him the strawberry pie. Under Sherry's persistence, Nate had to start the first attempt in his life, and this instantly opened the door to a new world for him.
What? This is pie?
Yeah.
This is pie. Pie's good.
What are you doing later tonight?
Nate then accepted Sherry's invitation for a date that evening, but just as they were chatting happily, an uninvited guest suddenly interrupted their conversation.
Dead by now. Just like old times, huh? It's Novocaine, and he's not dead!
Facing the rude provocation of a junior high classmate, the extremely awkward Nate had to use the bathroom as an excuse to temporarily escape the scene. But when he returned again, he was surprised to find Sherry chatting happily with the classmate who had just provoked him. Obviously, his cowardly performance just now had lost the heart of his goddess. Sure enough, after seeing Nate, Sherry started mediating between them. To improve the relationship between the two, Sherry proposed that she treat them to a drink together. Although reluctant, Nate still took the glass and drank it in one gulp. However, just then, the old classmate suddenly looked pained, and even his breathing became rapid. It turned out what Sherry just treated them to drink was not alcohol at all, but the hottest Mexican ghost pepper sauce on the market. Sherry's maneuver also caused their relationship to heat up instantly, and that night they were officially together. After being single for 30 years, Nate finally welcomed his own chosen one. However, just as he imagined his life was about to reach a high point again, 3 Santa Clauses carrying big bags suddenly walked into the bank. The manager thought he had encountered a major client, but in the very next second, the 3 robbers had a clear division of labor and were extremely professional. They first knocked out the bank security guard, then made everyone lie on the ground with their hands on their heads. Then the robbers took the bank manager to the vault entrance and threatened him with a gun to immediately hand over the vault password. But unexpectedly, the manager was a tough bone. Even though he was beaten by the robbers until his face was covered in blood, he still refused to talk. Unfortunately, the robber's Santa Claus beard accidentally fell off during this process.
Sorry, buddy.
After the manager was taken out by the robbers, Nate, as the assistant manager, immediately became their next target. To force him to quickly tell the password, the robber gave him 2 heavy punches without saying a word. But Nate, who was already terrified, had no reaction at all. Seeing that he was unwilling to cooperate, the furious robber gave him another punch immediately. Unexpectedly, at the moment of life and death, Sherry, lying on the side, actually pleaded for him. This made the robber instantly realize that their relationship was by no means ordinary. So he forcibly pulled up Sherry from the side and gave her a fierce slap on the face. The crisp sound of the slap made Nate instantly snap out of it, so he had to reveal the vault password to the robber. Unexpectedly, he was hit by another heavy punch immediately after. After the robbers knocked Nate out, they immediately entered the vault and started frantically moving cash. But just then, the police actually arrived early. To rush out of the encirclement, the robbers took Sherry as a hostage. To prevent the hostage from getting hurt, the police had to temporarily put down their weapons. Unexpectedly, this played right into the robbers' hands, and they immediately opened fire on the police in a wild barrage. In the blink of an eye, more than half of the first batch of police officers who arrived were dead or injured. The rapid sound of gunfire also woke the unconscious Nate. In a daze, he suddenly realized the robbers had taken Sherry with them. But when he rushed out of the bank regardless of his own safety, the robbers had already fled the scene quickly in 2 cars. Seeing a police car nearby, a bold idea suddenly emerged in Nate's mind. But when he rushed to the front of a police car, he found a police officer lying on the ground with a gunshot wound to the leg. So he had to use his belt to perform emergency first aid to stop the bleeding for the officer first.
32 and 34, backup, 8 minutes out.
8 minutes?
Hearing that backup would not arrive for another 8 minutes, Nate immediately picked up the pistol on the ground, drove the police car, and sped towards the direction the robbers left. With the help of the police car, Nate soon caught up with the robbers' vehicle. But the flashing police lights also immediately exposed his position. The furious robbers immediately opened full fire and strafed Nate's car. After confirming that he was not shot, Nate immediately floored the gas pedal and started chasing at full speed again. To ensure safety, the robbers immediately split up and drove their cars in different directions. Nate had no choice but to pick one of the cars at random and give chase. But not long after, the robber led him into a dead end. Nate did not have time to brake and immediately rear-ended the truck in front heavily. The robber did not fare much better. Just as he was about to leave, his path was blocked by a huge dumpster. Seeing that the robber had not gone far, Nate immediately got out of the car and chased after him. But when he walked up to the car, he realized that Sherry was not inside. So Nate, who had never fired a gun before, had to raise his pistol, trying to force the whereabouts of Sherry out of the robber Ben. Unexpectedly, Ben saw at a glance that he was not a police officer.
You ever fired a gun before? Do you, even know where the safety is?
Nate hesitated for a moment, and the cunning Ben quickly knocked the pistol out of his hand, taking the opportunity to flee into the back kitchen of a nearby hotel. Unexpectedly, just as Ben was about to pick up the gun, his legs were hugged by Nate in the next second. Ben was completely enraged. He kicked Nate away and then raised his gun to start strafing. To save his life, Nate had to crawl under the prep table in the back kitchen to think of a countermeasure. Subsequently, taking advantage of Ben not paying attention, he grabbed a frying pan from the stove and fiercely knocked the pistol into the oil fryer. Ben wanted to snatch the pan, but was instantly seared in pain by the scorching hot frying pan. Even stranger, the man in front of him acted like a real-life version of Deadpool, because no matter how many times Ben slammed him to the ground, Nate always got back up as if nothing had happened. Even using whatever tools he found to counterattack. Although the damage was not great, the insult was extremely strong. Ben immediately picked up a kitchen knife and charged at Nate. At the life or death moment, Nate dodged, grabbed the gun from the oil pot, and blew Ben's head apart. Nate was frozen on the spot with fright. Watching the blood seeping from the back of Ben's head, his stomach churned violently, and he vomited his breakfast. However, saving a life was crucial, so Nate forced himself to endure the discomfort and searched Ben's body for his phone. But the text message only indicated to meet at the workshop and did not give a specific address. So Nate had to use the phone to take a picture of the tattoo on Ben's left arm. Then he pushed away the dumpster blocking the back door, got into the car, and left the scene. Subsequently, Nate sent the photo to his online friend Roscoe. He asked Roscoe to call every tattoo parlor in San Diego to help him find the tattoo artist who created this design. Although they had never met in real life, at this moment, this virtual friend had become Nate's only support. After receiving Roscoe's reply agreeing to help, Nate felt a sense of relief instantly. Now, the first thing he needed to do was to treat the wound on his arm as soon as possible. So he immediately rushed to his client Earl's hardware store. A few days ago, Nate had just used his connections to help Earl keep the loan that the bank was about to cancel. Therefore, after receiving Nate's request for help, Earl agreed to help him without hesitation. He was just about to call the hospital emergency number when unexpectedly, Nate used a box cutter to cut open the wound on his right arm and forcibly pulled out the bullet with pliers. This inhuman operation directly left Earl stunned and dumbfounded. However, this was just a routine operation for Nate. Then he took out the super glue from the toolbox and glued his wound shut like sticking a toy together. But due to heavy blood loss, Nate felt dizzy when he jumped down from the table, so he asked Earl for a shot of adrenaline. With one shot, he, who was just listless, instantly made a full recovery. Meanwhile, FBI agent Mincy and her partner Coltrane also arrived at the scene of the bank robbery because Nate told the robbers the vault password and forcibly drove away a police car after the robbery. He was also identified by the police as an accomplice of the robbers. But when they discovered the body of the robber Ben in the hotel kitchen, Mincy immediately questioned the police's conclusion.
Do you have a cell phone number for him?
Guy just robbed a bank, killed a guy. You really think he's just picking up his cell phone?
This is Nate speaking.
Hi, Nate.
Unexpectedly, Nate actually answered the phone directly. Learning that he was also treated as a suspect, Nate was instantly shocked and hurriedly explained that he did this only to rescue his girlfriend, Sherry.
And if your daughter was kidnapped, would you wait around for someone else to save her? Or would you do it yourself?
Mincy was left speechless by Nate's retort. Since they had already tracked Nate's phone in order to temporarily stabilize him, Mincy told Nate that he could continue searching for Sherry in his own way. Meanwhile, because they hadn't heard from their brother for so long, Andre grew increasingly anxious. To prevent trouble, their leader Simon had to do everything he could to keep Andre calm.
Everything is gonna be fine.
Yeah, right.
At this moment, Sherry, who had been silent the whole way, suddenly spoke up.
You love cola
Stop
gummies.
it, Simon.
It turned out that Sherry was actually the sister of the robber leader Simon. The reason she frequently approached Nate was to extract the bank vault password from him. But because Nate is a complete homebody, she did not have a chance for intimate contact until yesterday. Although then they finally managed to grab a large amount of cash through robbery, Sherry was very regretful, because Simon had promised her that they would only rob money and would absolutely not kill anyone. And at this moment, Nate had successfully found the tattoo parlor that gave Ben his tattoo through the clues provided by his online friend Roscoe. He disguised himself as a customer wanting a tattoo, pulled up the photo on his phone, and easily coaxed Ben's name out of the tattoo artist Zeno.
So, did you guys surf together?
Yeah, we did.
He then lies and claims to be a comrade of Ben, but Nate's repeated fishing for information still arouses Zeno's suspicion. Zeno pretends to leave, then pulls a short knife from the table. But when he turns around, he discovers that Nate behind him has already raised his gun. Nate thought victory was in his grasp, but unexpectedly in the next second he is ambushed by a woman from the side. Fortunately, he dodges in time, barely avoiding the tattoo artist's fist. Subsequently, Nate launches an attack on Zeno first, but facing the strong Zeno, Nate's fists were like a tickle, unable to cause any damage to Zeno at all. However, Zeno lands just one palm strike, instantly sending Nate spinning. Before he has time to get up, he is immediately smashed by Zeno into the mirror behind him. Looking at the mess on the ground, Nate suddenly remembers his superpower. So he smashes his fist with full force into the glass shards on the ground. Just like that, the situation at the scene reverses instantly. With the help of this cheat-like ability, Nate destroys Zeno's eyes with one punch. To save his life, Zeno had no choice but to reveal Ben's home address. Since he has no paper, Nate simply uses a tattoo gun to tattoo the address onto his own palm. On the other side, his brother's failure to return makes Andre lose his patience. Ignoring Simon's dissuasion, he insists on going to his brother's residence, but he does not know that Nate has already beaten him to it and arrived there. On the surface, this is just a very dilapidated old house. But once Nate stepped inside, he realized things were far from simple. With just a moment of inattention, he is hit in the back by a swinging, spiked ball. However, this is merely the beginning of Nate's misery. He carefully makes his way to the kitchen. At this moment, a photo on the refrigerator suddenly catches his attention. But just as he takes a step forward, a crossbow bolt instantly pierces directly through his knee. Although he feels no pain, pulling the crossbow bolt directly out is by no means an easy task. So Nate has to shuffle sideways like a crab toward the other rooms. Having fallen for 2 traps in a row, Nate dares not be careless anymore. He pushes a chair ahead to clear the path for himself. Only after confirming there are no traps does he walk over with reassurance. Hard work pays off. After experiencing setbacks, Nate finally finds the robbers' work uniforms in the last room. Unexpectedly, just as he grabs the clothes and is about to leave,
I'm gonna make you...
with no other choice, Nate had to call Roscoe again. Although Roscoe does not want to cause trouble, when he hears that Nate has always regarded him as his only friend, the bond between men is instantly formed. Roscoe immediately states that he'll ride his Harley and arrive to save the day within 5 minutes. Unexpectedly, just as Nate hangs up the phone, Andre, worried about his brother's safety, arrives at the house first. Seeing the triggered spiked ball in the living room, Andre instantly realizes that someone else has entered the house. He takes out his pistol and paces forward carefully, but he only sees Nate, covered in wounds, hanging upside down from the ceiling. Nate lies and claims that he is just a burglar breaking into an empty house, but the address on his palm quickly exposes his identity. Just as Nate is trying to make excuses, Andre suddenly receives a call from Simon. It turns out he just heard the news of Ben's death over the police radio, and the one who killed him was a tall, thin man wearing a suit. Andre immediately realizes that the man in front of him is likely the culprit who killed his brother. To avenge his brother, Andre decides to torture Nate first before sending him to the afterlife for good. He ties Nate to a chair and then begins to frantically yank on the crossbow bolt in his knee. Although he does not feel a single thing, to buy time for Roscoe, Nate has to start screaming frantically. Unexpectedly, Andre still has not vented his anger. He picks up a dagger and is about to stab it into Nate's eye. At the moment of life and death, Roscoe finally arrives in time and knocks out Andre, who was about to commit murder, with a club. After knowing each other online for so many years, they never expected to see each other's true faces for the first time in such a situation. However, just as the two are about to leave, Andre, who was just knocked out by Roscoe, suddenly wakes up. The two instantly get into a brawl. Seeing that the situation is bad, Roscoe hurriedly throws a combat knife to Nate, but because he did not judge the angle well, Roscoe's combat knife actually pierces directly through Nate's palm. Nate falls backward with the momentum, accurately stabbing the combat knife into the top of Andre's foot. Andre is completely enraged. He forcibly pulls out the combat knife and then frantically hacks at Nate. At the critical moment, the unreliable Roscoe saved Nate's life once again. He used the pepper spray he carried with him and actually managed to subdue Andre. Just as victory seemed within reach, Roscoe, however, stepped into a trap at this moment. And the accident just now also plunged Nate back into a desperate situation. Just then, the crossbow bolt penetrating his knee suddenly gave him a glimmer of hope. Nate used all his strength to clamp Andre's shoulder with his legs, then slapped down hard, and the arrowhead on his knee instantly pierced through Andre's head. After escaping death again, Roscoe urgently treated the wounds on Nate's body. But just then, Mincy also followed the trail based on Nate's phone location.
I think I have an idea. Your Harley, it's still parked out front, yeah?
Yeah.
Roscoe put on his helmet and quickly jumped onto his Harley. Seeing this, Mincy immediately took her subordinates and chased after him. Unexpectedly, only after forcibly stopping Roscoe did they realize they had fallen for Nate's decoy. Meanwhile, Nate also took the opportunity to rush to the auto repair shop where Simon was hiding. At this moment, Simon was still waiting for Andre to return so they could flee to Mexico together. But Sherry wanted to part ways with him. After all, it was Simon who killed people, and turning back now might still offer a chance to start over. But she still underestimated her brother's ruthlessness. To ensure his own safety, Simon actually chambered a round in his pistol directly. Fortunately, just then, Nate finally arrived in time. Simon had to put down the gun. After a moment of panic, Simon instantly recognized that Nate was exactly the bank manager Sherry had seduced. So Simon told Nate, full of mockery, that the person he was desperately trying to save was his own biological sister. Simon's words were like a bolt from the blue, instantly leaving Nate in a daze. Simon immediately seized the opportunity to snatch the pistol, then backhanded Nate with a haymaker. For 30 years, this was the first time Nate felt the taste of heartache, and Simon did not intend to leave him away to live at all. He forcibly dragged Nate under the car lift, wanting to use the car to crush him into a pulp directly. Just when Nate was about to be buried under the car, Sherry, whose conscience kicked in, forcibly pulled Simon away. And his sister's betrayal also made Simon completely furious. He could not believe that his sister would betray him, her only relative in the world, for an outsider. So he pressed the pistol directly against Sherry's head. Just then, a bullet instantly pierced through Simon's abdomen, and the one who fired was Coltrane, who had arrived in time. Subsequently, Sherry was detained by Mincy on the spot, and Nate was also urgently loaded onto an ambulance. However, just when everyone thought the case was completely over, Coltrane was suddenly shot through the neck. It turned out Simon was not dead. To protect Sherry, Mincy was also shot in the abdomen by Simon. Sherry tried her best to hide behind the car and only then luckily escaped disaster. But the paramedic outside the door was not so lucky. He was shot dead by Simon before he could get out of the car. Subsequently, he drove the ambulance and quickly fled the scene. But he did not know that the person lying in the compartment was exactly Nate. Simon treated his wounds while driving, and his painful groans also made the comatose Nate wake up instantly. Nate, who suddenly felt something was wrong, wanted to leave, but the handcuff on his left hand made it impossible for him to get up. Even worse, Simon swerved the steering wheel at this moment, instantly throwing Nate onto the floor. And the loud noise also exposed Nate completely. So Nate raised an oxygen tank and smashed his own thumb to break it, and successfully broke free from the handcuffs before Simon fired. Nate quickly stood up and picked up the pistol. What was tragic was that there were no bullets in the pistol anymore. Seeing that Simon had already driven the car into the pier, Nate decided not to sit and wait for death. He quietly turned on the defibrillator in the compartment. When the power reached 100%, he quickly smashed the paddles onto Simon's neck. The ambulance instantly lost control, then flipped 180 degrees and flew out. Although his brain was already spinning, relying on his incredible resilience, Nate still tenaciously survived. Nate thought Simon must be done for, but just as he opened the door, the angry Simon quickly pounced on him. The two fought all the way from inside the car to outside. Although Nate had already tried his best, being covered in wounds, he had no power to fight back in front of Simon and was soon knocked unconscious. However, Simon did not intend to let him off like this. Subsequently, he used all his strength to break Nate's right arm directly. Just then, Sherry, who had just survived the disaster, arrived in time. She fired several shots and successfully forced Simon back. Unexpectedly, just as she rushed over to finish him off, she was ambushed by Simon again and slammed heavily onto the car body. Although she tried her best, relying only on a woman's strength, she could not compete with Simon at all. At the moment of life and death, Nate suddenly discovered the adrenaline in the first aid kit. So he crawled to the first aid kit with all his might, and using his last ounce of strength, he stabbed the adrenaline into his thigh. In the blink of an eye, Nate, who was beaten into serious injury, completed his resurrection. He used his left hand to pull away Simon, who was attacking, and then used the exposed bone of his right arm to pierce his throat. Simon never dreamed that the one who would finally end him would be that loser he always looked down upon. After saving Sherry, the exhausted Nate immediately fell into a coma, and when he woke up again, it was already a month later. Although he had been wrapped like a mummy by doctors at this time, what he cared about most was still Sherry. Relying on his Deadpool-like recovery ability, Nate completely recovered his health 1 year later, and he also went to the prison to visit Sherry immediately. Because of being an accomplice, Sherry was sentenced by the judge to 18 months in prison. Although he almost lost his life because of falling in love, Nate's love for Sherry did not diminish. He pulled open his shirt to show Sherry the tattoo portrait of her and looked forward to a bright future together with his lover.